So on to night 2 then. Yeah, whew,
Hey,
man. Yo.
before we begin night 2, how about a couple cheap plugs?
Oh,
Stay
good call.
stay tuned for a new segment dropping Thursday or Friday, probably, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I think we're back to our Sunday night spaces on
Yep.
8:05 Sunday.
Yep, this Sunday, 8:05 p.m. Eastern, we will be back for Sunday night spaces as usual. I'll be sure to post on my X account as well. So if you're not following me there, at AltJakeTakesOn, I tried to keep the same handles for everything, make it easy for folks. But yeah, and again, we thank everybody for liking, subscribing, watching. Please give us comments when you see the new segment that comes out. That will be prime fodder for comments of what people think we should do with it moving forward, because there's definitely going to be a lot of options in there. So we're trying to be interactive and fun for sure. So
can people share this? Can people share this YouTube thing?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a share button.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
So let's look at it this way. We have 138 subscribers, so share it with a buddy.
Thank you. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because I feel like everybody would, from what I can tell from the statistics, and I'm not the best numbers guy, but it seems like most of the people who subscribe watch and enjoy and watch for the retention. The audience retention is pretty good on those, and we seem to get new fans pretty much every week. So yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Come and share. If people aren't sure what we're about, send them to our spaces once or twice. You know, we can bring them on. Well, we're happy to talk to folks. We're happy to let people know who we are and what we're about. We're here to have fun. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if somebody starts coming in, they do like the screaming where you can't even hear what they're saying or getting too yeah. We are trying to be on YouTube. We're not trying to get flagged and taken down. You know, we might swear a little bit here and there, but we're not trying to just only swear and name call and all that stuff. Like I've said, you know, there's too much negativity in the space. And we're not always going to be just Captain Positive to be positive, but there's no reason to only whine and complain. Like if something sucks, which we'll talk about things that suck, absolutely. But I feel like most people, the immediate move is everything sucks. You suck. Your opinion's wrong. Rah! And that's not what we're about. So
I know before. Yeah. I know we had the last spaces we did before we took the holiday break. We actually had somebody that was listening for a while and then decided to make come online and talk to us, which I thought was nice. I think it was Charles. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he's been listening for a while and he's wanted to speak this time because he knows.
Yeah, no, and he's commented now more than
he's not going to get blasted.
Yeah, and I feel like that interaction. He's commented on a few more different of my posts now, and we've interacted because I feel like it does kind of let people know, like, hey, because I do feel like a lot of people, especially creators or whatever in the space, they feel like they've got the clout to just bash on somebody for whatever reason, which I will never understand. And so, yeah, we're trying to be interactive and fun. And even our buddy Mike Glass, who's been with us from the very beginning, he said it was the first time he'd commented or spoke in anybody's space or any type of situation with that because he's afraid to publish. Yeah,
that's one thing I really tried to present when we presented this whole idea.
Yeah,
just to make it someplace where you don't feel like a jackass.
Right, and I like the way we did it because that last time was the most that was the most hands that had ever come up in any space ever, and it was in like the first 10 minutes. And I liked our system of, hey, if it's a new space, it's almost like karaoke. Like if it's your first time to get it, we're going to let you ask your question. We want people to be interactive. We're trying to be fun. That's why we're trying to bring on a plethora of different guests too.
Ooh, plethora, nice.
That's it, right? Yeah. It's almost like I got a thesaurus. Yeah, but it's just, you know, we've had Awful, we've had Don, we've got Phil on there. You know, Chris Connor has come in for a few. Marie Shadows made an appearance. Like that's what we want. We want people to be interactive and fun, and you know, show other fans of other creators what we're doing. We're not trying to compete with anybody. We're just trying to have some fun with it and interact with everybody. So. Yeah, no, that was a good time to put in the plug in between the two nights because once I start going, I start going.
The following spaces announcement was brought to you by AltJakeTakesOn. Thank you. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, go ahead.
Side note, please email at AltJakeTakesOn@gmail.com if you would like to sponsor the show.
Oh God.
Yeah. Hey, I'm willing. I got no, but I mean, I'm not just gonna sponsor anything, but if people want to sponsor, it's out there. So, night 2, WrestleMania started off with what we expected. The Io Sky versus Bianca versus Rhea match, which again is very similar to the Jey Uso match, kicking things off with the banger. You know, that one was going to be more of that feel good moment. This match was just going to be awesome. Everybody knew what they were supposed to do. The three of them have worked together for, years now. If you count the NXT time, you know, this match delivered for exactly what I expected it to be. It was fun. It was entertaining. I didn't think Io was going to win, so I went 0 for 1 with the first match, but I'm glad she did, because I think I might have even said it in our preview that, you know, Bianca and Rhea don't really need the title to elevate them anymore. They're both pretty, and then if they wanted to continue to feud, they didn't need the belt. You know, this is one of those things where Io's fantastic, and I'm not sure if there's anybody that better than she is bell to bell, but the title's really kind of solidify. It's not making her, because she's already made herself, but I feel like it's solidifying her. I know they say like the title makes the man or whatever. I feel like she's made, but this is solidifying kind of where she is. And also, like, you know, she beat two of the, I mean, if you're going to name off your top 3 females in probably in the industry, Bianca and Rhea are probably going to be in that top 3. So at least the top 5.
I have not been Io's strongest supporter, but I will say after watching this match that I thought she did a wonderful job and didn't look out of place. I mean, she's not the biggest woman in the world, but she held her own with the 2 beasts in the ring with her. And it was very enjoyable. I loved it, dude. I really did.
Yeah, I was expecting a great match, and I thought it over delivered. I really do. I think it was one of those things that, like I said, you knew it was going to be good, but actually, no, I knew it was going to be great. But I mean, I stood and clapped the end. I thought it was a very well done match. She looked great in it. It didn't seem like, because I feel like there's sometimes where the smaller wrestler wins, and it's almost like cheaply, or you kind of like can see the bigger person's working with them or whatever, but I never felt that in this match. And I feel like the thing with Io too, I think one of the main reasons she probably, or maybe didn't connect with as many folks as she's starting to connect with now, was they almost just kind of only had her like in tag matches or the War Game. She was there to do her crazy spots, because she's great at those, but she's also a really good technical wrestler as well, and good at interacting with the crowd. And she's hard not to like. She's a very likable human, it seems. You know, so
needs a little bit of promo work, but we can live with that. That's fine.
Right, that's fine.
Like, when I was
like
watching
this,
when I was watching this, I was like, this is a solid 3, and it stayed a solid 3 throughout the whole thing. It was awesome. 3's really good. 3's really good.
3's really good. Yeah,
high score for me.
So I think I was expecting a 3 out of it. So because it over delivered for me, I'm going to go up to a 3.25. I thought it was a 3 1/4, because I really did enjoy it. And again, kicks off Mania on a fun way.
Yep.
And the other cool thing from this, I don't know if people have seen it, but it's making the rounds on social media. There's video of her family. I think it's like her brother, and then for sure her mom and dad, who didn't know she was going to win, obviously, and seeing them celebrate and how important it was to them, and like that cool moment, you know. Sometimes I act like I'm, you know, a tougher guy. I'm a sap. I really am. Like, that stuff gets me. That was really cool to see. So really, really happy with that match, and a great way to kick off night 2 for sure.
Yep. Beautiful. Nice start. Nice start.
Yeah, for sure. The next match we had, I'm chuckling because I'm seeing the picture, because Drew versus Damian Priest. I chose this picture because in case anybody hadn't seen it, this was the selfie that Drew took during the match to kind of partner with the bored at work LOL tweet that he sent out last year. He sent this one out with the caption of "Still bored at work LOL." But I almost got 2 pictures for this, so just because of the entrance that Damian Priest had with the guitar player from Slayer out there rocking out and playing him to the ring. That was really cool, and you could see at least a couple of times. Like, I always look in their eyes. They always say the eyes never lie. You could see the Priest was trying to look tough, but like the 14-year-old inside of him was losing his mind with the guitar player out there for him. So that was a really cool.
Senior citizens getting represented.
Yeah, you know, hey, it's a good. That's 2 seat. Yeah, that's 2 AARP acts in 2 nights at WrestleMania. But hey, they didn't sound like AARP acts. They sounded phenomenal. I always feel like too sometimes with the live performances, the arena or stadium, the arena shows are fine. The stadium, sometimes they don't sound quite as good, or maybe the audio wasn't set up as well. I feel like that's something that's important to Triple H, because the 2 Manias under him so far that have had live performances have been pretty dang phenomenal. But this match was great. It was what it needed to be. You know, you knew they were going to beat the crap out of each other, and they did. I mean,
this was the Sin City street fight.
Yeah. Sponsored to you by the video game Doom, which, and if anybody saw, that's what Drew was dressed up as the main.
Not happily, by the way.
Game. Yeah, it didn't seem like. I think he was okay with it till he couldn't get it off. He couldn't get the strap, the chest strap, or the gloves off. You could tell that was pissing him off. But I'm sure he'll be okay when he sees the paycheck that comes from that game, because that was. I'm sure everybody noticed during the show, but I noticed it when we were previewing it from the match cards that each one was like, this match sponsored to you by Xfinity, this match sponsored to you by Minute Maid. Like, that's brilliant. I mean, as annoying as it can be, it doesn't take away from anything, really. It's not like they're, throwing Minute Maid bottles at each other, although that could be fun. But I think it's just a smart way of bringing in more and more money so that these guys can get paid bigger and bigger paychecks and earn it. So I enjoyed this match though fully. I thought it was a great one. I'd probably go with a top, like either a 2.7, I'd probably 2.75 on this one. It wasn't spectacular. I'm hearing some people say it was one of the best Mania matches ever. Yeah. I think those are just people that like spots, because there were a lot of cool spots. Yeah, like it was a fun match, but I wouldn't put it as like show stealing or anything. But I was happy for what it was. I thought it was, two hosses beating the crap out of each other, and Drew needed that win. We talked about that before. Where like, Drew's had a string of losses coming up, and Priest got him last year. So yeah, Drew needed this win. Not sure where he goes moving forward, but he's another one that could challenge Jay. You know how much he hated Jay back. The Jay Uso. He was saying that. I mean, he pretty much said that every Raw for like 2 months. So
yeah, I threw this at 2.25, so I was right in the ballpark. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and again, guys, remember our rating system is
very critical.
Yeah, we're a little. Well, people hear 2.25, and you think that's a dud if they're not up to. We're rating 4. 4 is a fantastic and spectacular match. If we're given a 5, it's got to have blown us away. And as great as the main event of night 1 was, 4, we should still. I put it as a 4, and that match was amazing to me. Another great match, which I thought was a lot of fun, especially with the ending, was the IC title 4-way.
Strangely enough, my favorite match of the weekend.
Going into the weekend, I'm not sure if you would have listed like 10 matches that could have been your favorite. That this one would have even made that 10, but it was awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, especially with everything that NXT did, and then I count the weekend as Friday and Monday too. So there was a lot going on, but this match was awesome. Like, it was a lot of fun. We kind of had a feeling that the Judgment Day would be part of the finish somehow within it, but how they did it with having Dom pin Finn, sets up to that. I think it looks like the Judgment Day is, pardon the pun, but the Judgment Day's days are numbered. It's just is what it is there.
It seems like they've been numbered for a while, or am I wrong with that?
No, I feel like it's been teased for a bit so that you can. Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe JD getting hurt kind of paused that, because I feel like they'll kind of stick JD and Finn as a tag team, or they'll kind of stay as a team. What I wonder is what happens to custody of Carlito, because obviously Dom will stay with Liv and Raquel. Like, what happens to Carlito? Just maybe he goes one place and his hair goes the other. I don't know.
Carlito keeps getting speared.
Yeah, it's like that episode of The Simpsons with groundskeeper Willie, where he gets axed in every other scene. That's Carlito. He just comes out. Hey guys, how's it? Bam. Hey guys, how's it? Boom. I'm back from the hospital.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how much I ended up enjoying this to make it my favorite match of the weekend.
That's especially as a 4-way. I mean,
that's tough for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But I really felt like everybody got their shine. Everybody got to have a great moment. And then, I mean, at least for us older fans that remember, like, because people talk about the custody of Dom matches, like, but if you lived it, like, that was a serious storyline. Dom was involved in like vignettes with Eddie at like the playground, and like it was a real deep storyline that to think back to that to now. I mean, like, we literally saw this kid grow up, and then I still talk about to this day, I don't think there's been a better 180 in the history of wrestling, from this guy's terrible. Like he's a white meat, boring baby face out there with his dad, and nobody cares. He kicks Edge in the balls, and his career has skyrocketed from ever since. And then people said, "Oh, well, he's great at being a heel, but he'll never be a baby face." Whoops, that aged well. Like he's gonna
really
still
haven't
be a heel for a bit.
not official yet. But
But the fact that he was able to get the cheers and there's dirty Dom chants, that's one of those things of like the fans just respect the kid. And one of the things I don't think we ever talked about. I know I talked about it with Phil once when we were comparing the comparison now that's completely dead, the Hook versus Dom, who's better comparison. Because I remember when Dom, like when he first turned heel and he was really getting into the character, he also was doing NXT as well. So and that was when they were doing more house shows. So he would do
that helped him so much, Jake.
So much. He did the Saturday, Sunday house show. He did Raw, and then he did NXT, and then was doing and he like lived in Orlando, so he was at the PC too. Like this kid saw his opportunity and put in the work. And that to me is why this moment happened. Like we can see it. We can see this kid wants it. He puts in the effort. He's willing to work. And if you can't respect and appreciate that, putting in the hard work, I got nothing for you. So I just want to make sure I put that on record that and this is why we talk about how people who either are lazy or don't do the house shows, or with AEW, they'll work like what Punk said, where like they only have to work once a week, but they'll come in 1 week and film vignettes for the next 2. And you got to get the repetition. If you're not, your work's not going to look good unless you do the work. It's very simple.
This was actually also my highest rated match I had a 3.25.
Nice. I went with a solid 3 on this one. I really enjoyed it. I almost want to go higher because of the crowd, like basically, what's the word? Curtain calling Dom, like it was but
that was production. Production knew what we were doing.
Well, the crowd wanted it. Like, you know what I mean? You could feel it. It's kind of like that first time that Jay did the yeet again, or like when they pre-played his music, like the crowd wanted it, give the people what they want. You can't. Not every storyline is going to pay off for people what they want. So when you have that moment, get it.
That's one of those things too, though. They're on a schedule, and you can't go. I'm sure you could, but you can't go back to the ring. You can't go back to the ring on your own without someone going, dude.
Right. Oh no, for sure. You could tell the camera guys, but I feel like it's not good. Well, we still remember back in the day where pay-per-view, where if you went over by a minute, you had to pay for the whole pay-per-view hour. So those fuckers never went over. I feel like with Peacock and clearly with Netflix, there's a little bit more wiggle room, but you're absolutely right. Like they are on if nothing else, you got those people in this end. You can't, I'm not trying to harp on AEW, but you're not trying to keep people in there for 5-6 hours. Like you want to get people, there's a point where it's overkill and you run out of energy.
We'll talk about that later.
We will.
People got a little tired.
Yeah, just a smidge. But speaking of moments and awesome things, we then had the Randy Orton versus Who match, and I was pretty convinced. Like I was pretty confident it was going to be Rusev, but they went the other way. And I think it was better. I think it was awesome, because Rusev, he's re-signed. He's going to be back. He's got, all the Raws or SmackDowns or whatever to work with. Like, this was Joe Hendry's introduction was the Royal Rumble, but this was the solidification that this man, when he's done with TNA, is ready for the main roster on day one. Like, he looked like you could tell it was an overwhelming moment, but he had his confidence. He didn't walk too fast. He did his moves. He did his hand things. He hit his pose. People are saying it's a squash match, but it was a back and forth match until he got a little cocky and hit his pose because he wanted to hit his pose at Mania and got an RKO out of nowhere. How many
it wasn't
beat by an RKO?
I wouldn't classify it as a squash. Maybe a little squishy.
I wouldn't either. It was a short match, but again, squishy. Yeah, it was squishy. It's the RKO out of nowhere though. Like that gets anybody. There and literally at this point in his life, it's gotten everybody just about. So I thought it was so well done, especially at the end where Randy picks him up and pats him and holds his hand. I mean, like, what is like? And then I heard him on Busted Open the next day saying how, this was great. This is what it needed to be. I wasn't going to beat Randy Orton. I mean, the guy's a 20-year legend, and he shouldn't be, or 25-year legend, and he shouldn't have beat him. It was exactly what it needed to be. It was a great moment. Randy then hit Joe's turn pose and then turned into his pose. Like, that's a WrestleMania moment that'll will literally live forever. So, and as someone who was at a meet and greet with Joe Hendry less than 2 months ago, like, that's just awesome. He's a real nice guy. You couldn't happen to a better person. Everybody talks about the work he puts in. And from what we were told by Daniel Nutcrager, one of our best fans, read in I think it was PW Insider, who's someone I actually will believe when they report things, that Hendry's contract runs to the end of or just past the end of this year. So I feel like next year's Royal Rumble will be like his actual main roster full debut, because he will be on the main roster moving forward from there. So good for Joe. Great match.
Interesting choice. I wasn't expecting that.
It was one of those things
I was not expecting him.
So no, it was one of those things where I was expecting. That's what I was gonna say. Like, it was in my ballpark and region just because I knew he was in the area, and it was one of those things where you're like, "Oh, it'd be great if," but it'll be Rusev. Like, I just didn't think there was a chance of it actually happening. I mean, there was
never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that's all it did for me. Was it crossed my mind and crossed right through? Like, yeah, it could happen. Not gonna.
They did an awesome job with the production on the camera work and everything. It was great. I enjoyed it. I gave it a solid 2.25.
I gave it a solid. I gave it a 2.5. That's where I was on this one when I thought about it. And when this is back to the Phoenix point, like this. They knew Kevin Owens was out for a couple of weeks, so they were ready. They had the entrance kind of built for him. Ray got hurt the night before they were going to have it. They clearly didn't have anything for Phoenix. It was just, here's his entrance. Here we go. Like, there's the difference. Right. So, yeah, just in case anybody didn't know or didn't believe, but that's, I don't think the Ray thing was the work. So the next match, which was a ton of fun as well, was Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. Which at the end featured Karrion Kross. I had this one wrong, or no, I had this one right. I thought Karrion Kross would cost AJ Styles the match and Logan would get the win. Logan's entrance was awesome. Like, as douchebaggy as he is, the guy knows what he's doing. Like,
the panels was awesome.
The panels was great. I thought it was cool where it's like you see him coming out, the way they had the camera being what looked like, oh, he's holding his phone and doing a selfie again because he's done that before, but then he sends it out and it's a drone and gets the drone shot and then it goes back into his hand. Like, it was cool. It was different. And it was very Logan. It made sense. I thought the match was perfect for what it needed to be. They showed off their athleticism. They had a great back and forth match. Karrion Kross is the reason that AJ Styles loses, so it's not like he still looks strong. He didn't lose to lose clean to Logan. Although I don't feel like that's really that bad anymore. It's a year or two ago, if you lost clean to Logan Paul, it's like you lost to a celebrity wrestler. Now it's like a wrestling celebrity. I feel like is more what he's kind of evolved into, just for his talent. Like, he's so damn good at this. You don't like to put the guy over because of,
he's natural. That's the problem.
It is.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you could say you usually don't become a social media star to the level he is without being super charismatic. So, like, that's box 1 checked. Obviously, he's athletic. That's box 2. The box 3, though, and kind of back to what we're saying about Dom, like, he clearly puts in the work. Like, I know he's got the place in Puerto Rico, and I think he's got a house somewhere else. Both of them have professional wrestling rings built there. Like, so I give him the credit. As much of an annoyance as he can be, like, that's what he's supposed to be. He's really damn good at this. Now, I thought
Karrion Kross was going to help AJ.
Well, he tried to. That's what I thought. He was going to try to help AJ.
Yeah, I thought AJ was going to take his advice and they become something, but I don't know what they're doing with Kross.
Yeah, it's interesting what they're doing with him. I'm hoping it does pay off, but it'll be.
I just don't see where or how.
For a year.
Yeah, I don't see where or how. They had a chance here to put AJ with him for a little bit and get him up. I thought, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, and the reason I keep thinking there's going to do something and there is a chance or whatever is because he's a Triple H guy. Like when Triple H got the job after Vince, he was one of the first people he brought back. So
time's passing.
Yeah, it is. What is?
I gave this match a 2, by the way.
Yeah, I'd say a 2 was a solid put for that match too. Because it wasn't anything super. It was what it needed to be. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they'll do because it feels like the Cross and AJ stuff isn't done, but we'll see. No, it's very interesting moving forward. What was a little bit probably less interesting, but still cool. Becky Lynch's return. Not that surprising since she was at the Hall of Fame. Kind of surprising that they had them win the titles, but we could talk about Raw as we talk about Raw, what happened afterwards and probably why. But this was one of the few things that I can kind of see most people, at least I see coming because of the pre-show angle from that they shot of night one of Bayley getting hurt, and Lyra's got to find a partner in 24 hours. They're both Irish. It's an easy return for Becky. It made sense. I kind of feel like the internet lost their mind with Becky Hogan because they think of when she came back and beat Bianca, but that was to set up a heel turn and have Bianca chasing, and usually it's better to have the babyface chase the heel champion, but is what it is. This match was nothing special. I'd probably say 1.5.
I was at a 1.5 on this.
Yeah, like it wasn't anything special. I was glad, and that's it's one of the issues sometimes with having such a deep and good roster is that like kind of sucks that Liv Morgan didn't get a singles match at Mania, but that didn't work out the best for her storylines, obviously. But she's, like I said before, she was the biggest rising star, the MVP of the women's division in 2024. But sometimes storylines happen the way they do.
Yeah, just take out the 2 partners, and you would have had Liv versus Becky. Much better.
Oh man, yeah, that especially too with the history that they had, where Becky, no, but damn it, you're right. I would have liked that better, like a lot better actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. I think it will lead to Becky, taking the Intercontinental title from Lyra and putting some solidification to that title, kind of like the reverse of what I was saying with Io, where the belt solidifying Io, Becky holding that title would like solidify what that title is. Because I don't think they should take the U.S. title off Chelsea Green anytime soon. That is working way too well. And so then that leads us to the main event, the very controversial main event, we'll say.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Before you even start, yes. I will just say one thing only. This whole thing, John Cena's heel turn, everything could have been done exactly the same without The Rock or without Travis Scott. Everything could have been done exactly what we saw without them two even being involved at all.
I'll do you one better. I think it could. I'll do you one better. I think it could have been better without The Rock.
That's what I was basically going.
But I actually think that Travis Scott could have been better. It could have been better. He didn't bother me that much. Didn't bother because I get why he's more of like that celebrity situation. And I get that with whatever. But yeah, The Rock wasn't really necessary. Now, this is going to be kind of a controversial statement for me, but I'll put this match up since we're talking about that one. The Rock, honestly, for me, probably since about 2003, whenever he came back as Hollywood Rock, like, I just haven't really given it that much of a shit about him. Like, he's fine. Like, he cuts funny promos, but I don't know. Like, I hate to kind of go with the Brian Last route, but I feel that way that he's always kind of in it for himself. Like, he talks like in the press conferences. Does he need to tell you he grew up in the business before he gives every answer? Like, right? Like he just comes off fake. It was where I think we talked about this before actually too, about how, like Rock and Cena have very parallel careers of going into Hollywood and stuff. And, obviously Cena's playing the heel now, but Cena just seems more of like a legitimate, decent human, and The Rock just seems like a selfish human. And even now, like, Cena's not in the press conferences putting himself over for being a heel. He's still being the heel,
Yeah, he's not going in there and going, my performance tonight.
Right.
was
he's
just
not
unbelievable.
he's
Oh
going up
God, that
there
was
and being
so good.
Barry Horowitz. Yeah, he's not just, yeah, I was great. Yeah, pat myself on the back. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it is what it is with the Rock.
Dude,
But
I just want Triple H to go to Ari Emanuel and just simply
that's
ask
what
him,
it is.
go listen,
It's
listen. The Rock, he's a great guy. We love him. He's done a great for WWE. We're not going to take any of that away from him. But his
right.
creative sucks. Sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Dude, it's terrible.
Well, and back to where I was saying, he's a selfish and not the best. Like he thinks his creative's great because he can only look at it from his perspective, and he thinks me being there is giving to the fans, and yeah, just enjoy the ride and blah blah blah. But it was proven last year that we're like, like if you're fun to come around, you're fun. Like even if you want to come back and have a match and get involved. Don't get involved with the title picture. I feel like that was the biggest issue and why, aside from the Bret Hart of it all, but why people don't like Goldberg and they really got to harp on him more now. Because when he came if he hadn't gotten the title from the Fiend when he did, if he'd just been doing whatever, it'd have been fine. Like if you're having a mid-card feud or even feud with the top guy because you don't like each other or like what, like if he and Gunther go and had a feud now, like, okay, fine. It's not for the title. You're not involving the storylines that matter to the people the more. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know. I just feel like that's if Rock had just came back, like if Rock had come back and had his match with Roman this year for, being the head of the table, like great. That's a great storyline. There's a lot of good stuff involved in that. There's a top guy. But you're not involving our title, what should matter the most to the company. It's kind of, I hate to harp on AEW, but it's like anybody who's considering themselves a top guy in that company who's not trying to murk Mox, what are they doing? Like, why are you here? Shouldn't the title mean everything to you? But what do I know?
So here's what ended up happening. The Rock's in Maui. So he does his Instagram thing from Maui. And everyone's like, well, he's not really in Maui.
Right.
That's a fake thing. So everyone thinks he's going to be there. My question is, if Rock does show up at WrestleMania, suppose he was there with Travis, does all this conversation go away?
I mean, from some of them, yes. From the people here, that's a good question. I like how you put that and here's my response will be this. I feel like there are some, obviously there's a lot of people, I don't want to really use the phrase crashing out, but that's the best phrase you can kind of use of it. People that are just losing their minds over this, which is fine. They're allowed to. But there's definitely a section of them and a larger section of them that are the bad faith people that really it's not about what happened. They're just see the situation. They're harping on it because they hate WWE and that's kind of their whole world. That's just who they are. It's not about them supporting anybody else. It's just they grew up in the time of WWE and Vince bad. And so they just hate the company. So for those people, no, that wouldn't have changed their arguments at all. They would just have changed the wording. But there's another large section of people, and I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but people I like, people I follow, people that I have like notifications set for because I like to see what they tweet. Some of them are really, really upset about this. And I feel like if The Rock had at least showed up, that would quell a lot of why they're mad. At least from what I kind of feel like.
Because it makes sense. It makes sense because he introduced everything. He did all the signs, did his throat slit, all this stuff. And then when you don't show up for the biggest, I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then who does he send out? But that's the other problem is when you have The Rock over there, even if he does send Travis at Cody, it's kind of like, having your bodyguard there, kind of having your big brother with you. Like, yeah, you could try to hit me, but then you got to deal with this guy. Like, no one thought Travis Scott was going to do anything to Cody. And this is my biggest gripe of the entire match. My biggest problem with it is Cody's receipt wasn't anywhere near what it needed to be. Yeah, Cody needed to legitimately punch him in the face or really give him a super kick or something. Like doing the crossroads, I get it. It's his finisher, and Travis, to his credit, did sell it well. I'll give it that.
See, here's the thing, Jake. Cody's a professional. Cody's a professional. He's not going to do that. And you know how
I agree.
From all indications that we've seen from Cody and heard, he's a good dude. He's not going to punch him in the head.
Well, no. I think Cody agreed to getting punched in the first place. I don't know if he was. I think he might have done it the right. He should have open-handed and maybe not hit the ear. But I felt like they had maybe made that agreement of like, because if Travis wants to get into the business like he says he does, you got to learn about receipts, pal. And I just feel like even if it's not a punch, I don't know. I just having him just hit the finisher was fine. That was just one of those things where I was kind of like.
I wasn't expecting it because I know Cody's not like that.
That's fair. If anybody is a absolute professional and doesn't want the business to look bad, like no, you're absolutely right. It's just for me, I wanted more, but it is.
I did too.
Yeah, I was gonna say like everybody. Now, when it comes to the parts of that people were saying how like the match was deliberately bad and intentionally bad.
Wow,
the match really wasn't that bad. It was Cena healing. And it was slow because that's what he said he was going to do. Like, like he's told us the whole time, well, not the whole time, but every time he's got a promo, what his plans are. And I said going into this Mania is going to be an Empire Strikes Back type WrestleMania. And I feel like people hear that and they look at it with hindsight of, well, that's the best of the original trilogy. Yeah, it's a great movie. But because you know how things end, like if you were alive during the time when it came out, like when Empire comes out and it's released, you're like, oh shit, everything's up in the air. You're waiting for the third one. So that's kind of what I felt like this one was, where certain things were up in the air, certain things were kind of put to shit so they can build towards the future of not only this year, but multiple years, which back to what we were saying about what this Mania was putting over people, like Dominic and showing off who Joe Hendry is, Io Sky winning her match. Like that's, they were putting over the younger talent who's going to be the future of this company. Cause I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm the biggest Cody guy there is, but he's 38, 39. Doesn't have that much longer to, he's got a few years, but not as like the top guy. He'll probably wrestle till he's 45, close to 50, but he'll probably 42, 43, 44, he won't be in the title picture anymore. And that's how he'll want it. Because again, he respects the business. He'll be more of an attraction.
Yeah. I struggled with this and I went with 2.25 just because the ending was so disappointing.
Yeah. No,
that means a lot when you're grading a complete match. The match was okay. It was like you said, Cena told us what was going to happen, and it did.
Yep.
And I'm okay
you're
with
absolutely
all that.
right. And it does. Here's the thing. The ending does impact the rating of the match. Absolutely. There's way too many people though that are taking the end of this match and rating the entire weekend off of it.
Okay.
Even if you want to say it ruined night 2, like, okay, fine. Like I can at least but like, whole WrestleMania was ruined. I'm like, night 1 still rocked. And honestly, night 2, we were live with Phil talking about it. The first 5 matches, there really wasn't, they didn't put a foot wrong, really. The Becky and Lyra match was what it was, and then this match, But you can tell me if you're going to have a 7-match card and 5 are fantastic and 2 are okay, I'll live. Yeah, I would say 2.5 is what I would rate this one. 2.5 is where I go.
I think all in all, I look at night 1 at like a 7.5, and then night 2 at about a 7.5 to a 7.75.
Okay.
If I had to take it. And overall, WrestleMania 41 was enjoyable for me. It's maybe makes my top 10. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, and it's hard to rank them now.
Yeah, exactly.
With the 2 nights and the 1 night ones, because some of those 1 night ones, like they had like 8 matches or 9 matches. You're like, shit, all those are really good. And then there's some ones where they're really, they're not. But I would say for me, night 1 probably is an 8 out of 10, and I would say night 2 is probably a 7 or a 7.5. Just because of where they were. There were some great moments, but overall, like some of the matches didn't hit as hard as they did for the first night. But I thought I loved the overall for the weekend at the end of Sunday night. Like I was thoroughly sports entertained and I was exhausted. So I felt like that summed up well enough of what they were trying to do. But I definitely enjoyed this year's Mania. It's hard to rank where it would be, and there's no comparison to last year, but there never was going to be. Everyone who's trying to compare, I just have them think of Teddy Roosevelt, and comparison is the thief of joy. Like you're not
spoiled.
Yeah, well, that too. And last year you had not only the bloodline story that had been going on since 2020, so that's 4 years of story there. But then you've got the backstory behind the bloodline, which goes back to Roman, Jay, and Jimmy as kids. Then you really go think of it with Cody. If you want to say it, his goes all the way back through Dusty. So then you got a story that's going back to the 70s, like you were culminating a lot of things last year. And that's, Phil kind of nailed it where, they don't always do it every 10 years, but you can always usually see a point where like, okay, this is the end of this chapter and we're kind of starting here moving forward. I mean, it's even like WrestleMania, what is it, 14, when Austin beats Shawn. Like there is a clear difference in the Manias from before that and the Manias after that. And so it's one of those things that they're always going to evolve and change, and trying to compare them is only going to make you mad or sad about things. Plus, no matter what, we always do rose-colored glasses. We learned that recently looking back at WrestleMania 13. I tried to watch the whole thing, and there were parts of it I was just saying, oof, this is rough. And there were some of it that were still good, but
I just know having seen them all and lived through them all that this is maybe 11, 12, 13 in my annals.
I mean, I would have to sit down and look at them all, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was somewhere between 11 and 15. It's in that range. You know what I mean? It's like where they make the different tiers sometimes. And, it's not in that A class, but a solid B class, and that's fine. I definitely there's a lot of great stuff coming forward, but we'll talk about Raw soon. Obviously we're got over an hour today, so we'll cut this one off here for this one, but we'll record again real soon and get to our talks about Raw. And then, we have a new segment that we're going to introduce. I've already got some thoughts there, so I'm excited about that. But like we said, we will be back for Sunday Night Spaces this Sunday. What is that? The 27th?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the 27th, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. I'll post something on X about that too. Make sure people can enjoy us. Yes.
For those of you going to the Spaces, George is going to be working the board, so don't get angry. I have to learn. Learn.
You got to study these things, and we're going to learn.
Don't get mad at me. Jake's going to hold my hand. We're going to get speakers on. It's going to be fine.
We're still developing a system. I feel like we've got a good system in place. Yeah,
don't be DMing.
There was
DMing Jake or me. I'm going to learn how to do it.
So
Jake can concentrate talking.
Yeah. There was a couple people that I know that DM me, and those were like, okay, whatever. Hey, we're friends. That's right. There was at least like 3 people. I'm like, I don't even follow you. Who are you? What? I says, I just want to talk. I'm like, I get it. We're getting there. And I was able to get to, I think 2 of them. One of them had a look. We're not trying to look. Wrestling is supposed to be entertainment. We were trying to keep this fun. There was a couple of people's names that were either filthy or very angrily political, and I don't care what side anybody's on. I don't want to talk about that. If politics is in your username, it's probably a little bit too deep in your life, and I just didn't want to bring that on and start any fights, because people sometimes think the alt in AltJake is for alt something politically. It's not. My last name starts with the letters ALT. That's it, guys. That's all it is. And I didn't really pick it. I just had that as my username, and then jumped on PWT in September of last year, and it's like, nope. It's kind of like wrestling, where it's like, nope, that's your name now. Move forward. So, we were just trying to have fun, and our spaces will be a good time, as the last few have been. I mean, with Don, with Phil, with Awful. I mean, we were laughing for 90 minutes straight, and when I have to go back and clip and re-listen to those, they're a good time. So, which, if anybody wants to hear any previous ones, all are posted on the YouTube page.
I had a technical problem there. Did you notice that?
A little bit, yeah. I heard the clicks.
Wow.
That's why I just kept going. I was like, it happened. Hey, it happened to me in the last show where I hit the cord and I couldn't hear out of one of the ears, and then I was trying to finagle it, and then all of a sudden you were spinning. I'm like, oh God, I didn't speak. We made it through. Professionally unprofessional people. We're having fun. That's why we're not here to talk down or be special. We're not gonna put ourselves above anybody because we're the hosts or the show. We're just here to have fun, unless you, like I said, unless you start being a dickhead or just cursing or being an ass on spaces, then we'll mute you and boot you. But otherwise, we're just here to have fun, and we're all equal. It's a good time.
All right.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Yeah, this was our WrestleMania 41 review, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.